On September 17, 2023, emergency dispatchers in South Carolina received one of the most unusual 911 calls in military history. A local resident explained that a man had parachuted into his backyard. That man was a United States Marine Corps colonel, a veteran pilot who had just ejected from a $100 million stealth fighter jet at barely 1,000 feet above the ground. When authorities arrived, the pilot had one urgent question. Where's my plane? The aircraft, a state-of-the-art F-35B Lightning II, had not slammed into the earth near the ejection site. Because its flight controls were set to autopilot before the pilot ejected during severe weather, the radar-evading fighter simply kept flying. For over 60 miles, the unmanned ghost jet glided silently through the sky before finally crashing near Lake Indiantown, South Carolina. Because the jet stealth coding works so well, military air defense radar struggled to track it after the transponder failed. Joint Base Charleston even had to ask the general public on social media to call in if they spotted a missing multi-million-dollar warplane. The incident went viral worldwide. But while the internet made memes, defense analysts asked a far more troubling question. Why does the most expensive weapon system in human history keep making headlines for catastrophic crashes? To understand what's happening, we need to dig into the physics, the technology, and the high-stakes reality of flying the U.S. Marine Corps' premier stealth fighter. The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II was designed to replace a legacy fleet of older jets across 3 military branches: the Air Force's F-16, the Navy's F/A-18 Hornet, and the Marine Corps' AV-8B Harrier II. To meet these wildly different mission sets, the Pentagon developed 3 main variants: the F-35A for traditional runways, the F-35C for aircraft carrier catapults, and the F-35B, the United States Marine Corps variant. The Marine Corps F-35B is an absolute miracle of modern engineering. It possesses style capability, short takeoff and vertical landing. That means it can launch from amphibious assault ships or rudimentary expeditionary airstrips, hover like a helicopter, and land vertically on a dime. How does it achieve this? Deep inside the airframe sits a massive, shaft-driven lift fan built by Rolls-Royce, placed directly behind the cockpit. When hovering, the main Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine vector swivels 90 degrees downward at the tail, while the forward lift fan engages to balance the aircraft. Roll control nozzles under each wing stabilize the platform. All of this is managed by over 8 million lines of software code. To the pilot, hover mode feels seamless. The computer performs tens of thousands of micro adjustments per second to keep the jet stable. However, extreme complexity brings extreme risk. When you pack an entire vertical lift system, radar-absorbing stealth materials, advanced sensor fusion systems, and a $400,000 helmet display inside a single airframe, the margin for error shrinks to zero. The F-35 program spent years in development without a single hull-loss crash. But on September 28, 2018, that record ended. An F-35 be assigned to Marine Fighter Attack Training Squadron 501 was performing routine operations near Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort in South Carolina. Suddenly, the engine suffered a sudden drop in fuel pressure. The engine starved, lost power, and forced the pilot to eject safely. The jet crashed into a marshy area nearby, marking the very first crash of an F-35 in aviation history. When investigators dug into the wreckage, they made a shocking discovery. The failure wasn't caused by a computer virus, a pilot mistake, or complex stealth codings. It was caused by a single manufacturing defect in a low-cost fuel tube inside the engine. The tube had ruptured, cutting off fuel flow mid-flight. The discovery triggered an immediate worldwide grounding of the entire F-35 fleet across the U.S. Marines, Air Force, Navy, and international allies like the UK and Japan. Every single engine had to be inspected and fitted with redesigned fuel supply lines before the fleet could take to the skies again. It was a stark reminder for military planners. Even a $100 million stealth fighter can be brought down by a single $5 component. 2 years later, in September 2020, another Marine Corps F-35B met a dramatic end over Imperial County, California. During a complex tactical training exercise, an F-35B attempted air-to-air refueling with a KC-130J Hercules tanker. During the probe and drogue contact, the two aircraft clipped wings midair. The impact tore through the F-35's airframe and destroyed two engines on the KC-130J. The F-35 pilot was forced to eject into the desert floor. Miraculously, the crew of the heavily damaged KC-130J executed a belly landing in a California carrot field, saving all personnel on board. Then came December 2022 at Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base Fort Worth in Texas. A newly built F-35B was undergoing vertical landing acceptance testing before being handed over to the military. As the jet hovered roughly 10 feet off the ground, a high-pressure fuel tube failed inside the engine's flight control system. The sudden loss of thrust caused the jet to bounce violently on the tarmac, snap its nose gear, and spin uncontrollably. Captured on viral video, the test pilot was forced to activate the ejection seat at ground level. The seat fired sideways, blowing the pilot clear just before the jet came to rest in the grass. These incidents highlighted a distinct vulnerability. Because a Marine Corps F-35B operates in demanding low-altitude, high-workload environments, hover landings, shipboard landings, and closed air support, its engines face mechanical stress levels far beyond standard conventional jet fighters. Whenever an F-35 crashes, headlines quickly claim that the aircraft is flawed, unsafe, or a waste of taxpayer money. But what do the actual safety numbers say? In military aviation, safety is measured in Class A mishaps, incidents that result in a destroyed aircraft, a fatality, or over $2.5 million in damage. When you look at history, early military aircraft development was notoriously dangerous. During the 1950s and 60s, classic jets like the F-104 Starfighter earned grim nicknames like the Widowmaker due to crash rates exceeding 30 lost aircraft per 100,000 flight hours. Even fourth-generation staples like the F-16 Fighting Falcon and F/A-18 Hornet suffered dozens of crashes during their first decade of operational service. By comparison, the F-35 family has logged over 800,000 cumulative flight hours across global fleets. Out of more than 1,000 airframes built, there have been roughly 14 total hull losses across all global variants. In fact, statistical analyses show that the F-35 is actually one of the safest single-engine fighter jets ever introduced into service. So why does it feel like they crash so often? Three main reasons. First, the price tag. At $80 to $100 million per jet, every single crash is a major financial event that grabs international headlines. Second, 24/7 media and cameras. Modern training operations are recorded on smartphones, dash cams, and live flight tracking apps, making crashes instant viral news. Third, pilot survival rates. In almost every single F-35 crash, the advanced Martin Baker US-16E ejection seat has performed flawlessly, allowing pilots to walk away with minor injuries. Despite its solid statistical safety record, the Marine Corps F-35 program continues to push the boundaries of aviation engineering. The core challenge of the F-35 is not just aerodynamics, it's software integration. The aircraft relies on complex software blocks to control flight surfaces, manage radar signals, and fuse data from sensors all over the airframe. When software glitches happen in mid-flight, sensors can feed conflicting data to the flight control computers. In several non-fatal incidents, air data system errors or sensor freeze bugs required pilots to reset avionics in mid-flight. Military engineers are constantly refining these systems. Automated ground collision avoidance systems, which automatically pull the jet away from the terrain if a pilot loses consciousness or spatial disorientation sets in, have already saved multiple F-35 pilots from fatal crashes. The U.S. Marine Corps relies heavily on the F-35B to maintain readiness in expeditionary environments across the Pacific and Middle East. As the branch retires its remaining Harrier jets, the F-35B will remain the primary spearhead for Marine expeditionary forces for decades to come. Pushing the envelope of military technology has always required taking risks. From the early days of supersonic flight to today's radar-evading fifth-generation stealth fighters, building jets that dominate the skies comes at a steep price. The U.S. Marine Corps F-35 crashes serve as a sobering reminder. No matter how advanced software, stealth coatings, or vertical lift engines become, aviation remains unforgiving. What do you think? Is the F-35's technological leap worth the immense complexity and cost, or should future jets focus on simpler design? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into military technology and defense strategy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.